Hello, welcome back. We are discussing Chapter 1, Lesson 8, Rates, Ratios, and Proportions. So our objective for today is to write and use ratios, rates, and unit rates. Also to write and solve proportions. So there's a lot of vocabulary going on up here in the objective. So let's kind of talk about a few of those vocabulary terms. The first one is a ratio. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. So you might see something like 1 to 7. That's a ratio. You could see it like this, 1 to 7. Or, so this would be the first way, second way, or a third way, which is how we are going to express it in this class, is 1/7. Okay, so all three of these are ratios. Okay, we are going to be using this format, okay, for this lesson. Now, a proportion, that is a statement that two ratios are equivalent. So two ratios, right, we're going to use these, are equivalent. So that could be something like 1/2 is equal to 4/8. This, you could also say 1 to 2 and 4 to 8, they're equal. Equivalent means equal. So this is a proportion, two fractions that are set equal to each other. All right, let's go to the first example, example 1. It says the ratio, okay, so it says that word, so we're going to be using one of these. So the ratio of faculty members to students at a college is 1 to 15. Okay, so notice that they're using this format right here, 1 to 15, which is the same thing as 1/15, right? So let's talk about keywords. So the first keyword we see here is ratio. Now remember when we talked about ratio, we could write it as 1 to 7, and the number that was on the left of the word 2, right, that was on top of the fraction, and the number to the right of 7 was on the bottom. So that keyword is 2. So if you look here, the 2 is right there, right? And what that means is that the ratio that we're looking at would be faculty members, because whatever is on the left, right, the left of the word 2, that goes on top of the fraction. So faculty members to students at the college. Students at the college goes on the bottom. So there we have our fraction. Now is 1 to 15. This also lets you know that the 1 is on top and the 15 is in the bottom. So basically it means one faculty member to every 15 students at the college. Then it says that is the ratio, okay? Then it says there are 675 students. How many faculty members are there? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set up a proportion. Okay, so this is equal. What we know is the faculty member information goes on the top part and the student information goes on the bottom. So it says 675 students. So does that go on the top or does that go on the bottom? It goes on the bottom because that's where the students at the college, and it's 675 students at the college. So we're going to put 675 right there on the bottom. And we want to figure out, well, how many faculty members are there? Well, we don't know that, right? So we're going to let X equal number of faculty members. And then the X goes right here on the top. Okay, so we have a proportion. And I'm just going to rewrite this right over here. So 1/15 is equal to X over 675. All right, and we're just going to use our algebra skills to get X by itself. So to do that, we want to get X by itself. Right now it's being divided by 675. We have to do the inverse operation of division, which would be multiplication of 675 to both sides. Okay, this cancels out and becomes 1. And then we just need to make this a fraction and simplify this fraction. So we're going to look to cross cancel, right? So how many times, what goes into both of these? I would say 5 does, right? 5 goes into 15. 5 goes into 15 3 times, and 5 goes into 675. I'm not sure. I'm going to go over here on the side and just go 675 and divide it by 5. 5 goes into 6 one time. 5 times 1 is 5. We subtract. 6 take away 5 is 1. We drop down the 7. 5 goes into 17 3 times. 3 times 5 is 15. 17 take away 15 would be 2. Then we drop down the 5, and 5 goes into 25 5 times. So it goes in 135 times, okay? What about 3? Does 3 go into 135? Can we simplify this further? Well, I'm not sure, but I do know that if I want to know if a number is divisible by 3, how I can determine that is I add up these numbers. So 1 plus 3 plus 5. So 1 plus 3 is 4, 4 plus 5 is 9, and then is 9 divisible by 3? Yes, 9 is divisible by 3. That means that this entire number is divisible by 3. So I'm going to go ahead and divide 135 by 3. 3 goes in, doesn't go into 1, but it goes into 13 4 times. 4 times 3 is 12. 13 take away 12 is 1. Drop down the 15. 3 goes into 15 5 times. 5 times, and no remainders. So there we have it. So that means 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 135 45 times. Okay? So then I just multiply across. I get 45 times 1, which is 45. And then 1 times 1 on the bottom is just 45 over 1, which is the same thing. So x equals 45. That's the symmetric property of equality, which means there are 45 faculty members. And that is the answer to that problem. That's how you show your work. That's how you do it. So let's go ahead and look at the next one. It says the ratio of games won to games lost for a baseball team is 3-2. Okay, so we have that word ratio again. And then there's that keyword 2. That lets you know that the information to the left of the word 2 goes on the top of the fraction, and the information to the right goes on the bottom. So it's going to be games won, 2 games lost. For a baseball team is 3-2. So that means we put this is on top, 3 games won to 2 games lost. The team won 18 games. How many games did the team lose? So we're going to set up a proportion. We're going to make this equal. It says the team won 18 games. So where do we put the 18? Do we put on the top where it's talking about games won, or do we put on the bottom where it's talking about games lost? Well, this says the team won 18 games, so that's going on top with that information. So we have 18 there. And then it wants to know, well, how many games did the team lose? Well, we don't know that. That's what we have to figure out. So I'm going to let that be my variable. Let x equal games lost. Okay, so I'm going to put x down here. So now I have my proportion, which is 3 over 2 equals 18 over x. Okay, now I'm just going to solve this. So to solve this, the one thing you have to remember, you have to remember, is that whenever you're trying to figure out what x is, you can never figure it out when it's on the bottom of a fraction. Okay? So it's on the bottom of a fraction, we can't figure it out. So our first plan of attack is to get the x on top. And how you do that is multiplying both sides by x. Okay? So I'm going to multiply both sides of the equation by x. What happens are these x's cancel out and they become 1, right? Because they have a common factor of x. X goes into x one time, x goes into x one time, okay? You multiply all that across and you get 18, all right? Over here, you multiply that and you have 3 over 2x. Okay, now we're going to try to get x by itself. It's a fraction being multiplied by x. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. For those of you I'm going to say it one more time. We're going to multiply by the reciprocal. Whenever there's a fraction here, we're going to multiply by the reciprocal to both sides. The reciprocal means you flip the fraction. So instead of it being 3 over 2, it's 2 over 3. So we're going to do that. We're not going to multiply by 2 one step and then divide it by 3 the next thing. No, we're just going to multiply by the reciprocal. What happens is when we look to cross cancel, the 2's cancel each other out, the 3's cancel each other out. It's just 1 times x, which is x. Boom. Okay, now we have 18 over 1. And we're going to look to cross cancel here. We cannot do anything with a 1 and a 2, but what about the 18 and the 3? Do they have any common factors? They do. 3. 3 goes into 3 one time, and 3 goes into 18 6 times. And then we just multiply across. 6 times 2 is 12. And then divided by 1 times 1, which is this 1. 12 over 1 is the same thing as 12. So boom, there you have it. There's our answer, x equals 12, which means they lost 12 games, because that's what games lost, right? So they lost 12 games. So there you go. All right, let's look at the third problem. So it says the ratio of the number of bones in the human skull to the number of bones in the ears is 11 to 3. There are 22 bones in the skull. How many bones are there in the ears? Okay, what's the key word? Ratio. There's the keyword ratio, and then where's the next keyword that goes with ratio? And it's 2. Okay? So that lets us know that the words to the left of the word 2, bones in the skull. So I'm just going to say number of bones in skull, or skull bones probably would have been better. Number of bones in skull over the number that after, to the right of the word 2 is the number of bones in the ear. So number of bones in ear is 11 to 3. So 11 goes on top and 3 goes on the bottom, right? Then it tells us that there's 22 bones in the skull. So this is going to equal, right? Bones in skull, bones in skull go on top, bones in ear go on the bottom. So what's this referring to? 22 bones in the skull. So that means it's going to go up here on the top because that's where they're talking about the skull bones. How many bones are there in the ears? Well, that's the part we don't know, right? So we're going to go ahead and let x equal number of bones in ears. In just ear. Or ears, I guess ears, bones in the ears. Okay, ears. So we don't know that, so we put the x there, which leaves us right here with 11 over 3 equals 22 over x. And we need to determine what x is. But what do you see? You should see something. What do you see? What do you see? What do you see? The x is in the bottom. All right, the x is in the bottom. That means we really can't do anything until we get the x out of the bottom of the fraction and we get it to the top. So we're going to do that by multiplying both sides by x. When we do that, these x's cancel out, which is like, oh my gosh, what did we just do? But since we multiplied it by x on this side, now the x is on the top, exactly where we want it. So we have 11 over 3x, and it's at the top. So now we can solve and figure out what it is. So to do that, we need to get x by itself, right? And right now it's being multiplied by a fraction. So what do? You are right. We multiply by the reciprocal, multiply by the reciprocal, multiply by the reciprocal, we multiply by the reciprocal. So there we go. So all of this stuff cancels out. We are left with x equals, this is 22 over 1, and we're multiplying fractions, so we always look to cross cancel first. Cannot do anything with a 1 and a 3, but what about the 22 and 11? Yes, 11 goes into both of those. 11 goes in there one time, 11 goes into 22 two times, and then we multiply across. 2 times 3 is 6. And 1 times 1 is just 1. 6 over 1 is 6. So there's our answer right there. So x is equal to number of bones in the ear. So how many bones are in the ears? 6. 6 bones in the ears. All right. And there we have it. So make sure you have all of your notes down and it all looks exactly like mine, and I will see you in a little bit for example 2.